It's out in the open. My boyfriend is with me purely to settle his debts. He's a college student who racked up over $1 million on my Maybach. He asked me, "Senior, is it okay if I compensate you 150 yuan? No money." I laughed and told him, "Don't worry, you don't need to compensate. Little buddy, just consider me your boyfriend settling debts." Transaction completed. I looked at the college student in front of me, so fresh he could be squeezed for juice, and raised my eyebrow in triumph. What a gain. The college student wore a stern face, frowned, and muttered, "Jew the skinflint," under his breath, but the moment I turned around, he secretly curled his lips into a smile. The best hunters always appear in the guise of their prey. Beautiful sugar mommy and bad sister scheming student little wolf dog. 1. Today, accompanied by the BGM of Good Luck Comes, I was invited back to my alma mater, University, as an outstanding alumnus to give a presentation. The BGM was powerful, the presentation went smoothly, and I felt great. I took a deep breath and was just about to shout, University, I, Han-san, have finally returned. Unfortunately, the newly acquired Maybach had 2 deep and long scratches on the stock red door, exposing the base coat. Who dares to scratch my heart like this? "Senior, is this your car?" A student emerged from behind the car, pushing a bicycle towards me. He pointed to the handlebars of the bicycle, casually showing me the remaining stock red paint on it. "I'm sorry, I scratched your car," he said. "Excuse me." The voice is stiff and distant, completely lacking any remorse. "Hey, kid, you scratched my new car. How can you be so casual about it?" I raised my eyes in anger, ready to let him know what regret really means. "Wait, the one who regrets is me." Following the line of his hand. This guy has long fingers and a fair wrist. Although the material of his white shirt is not great, the physique beneath it is quite impressive. Even more striking is his face, with sharp features, a lively demeanor, and a gaze that carries a hint of youthful pride and aloofness. Well, he really does have the face to be so casual. But that face makes me want to bully him a bit, to see what it looks like when his pride gets shattered. The college student noticed I paused, bit his lip, took out his phone, and pulled up the payment code. "Sorry, senior, I'll pay you." This time when he spoke, his voice softened a bit. My heart softened as well, and I chuckled, "What are you going to pay for?" I wanted to say that I could just go through insurance. "You can't afford to pay." But my mouth was faster than my brain, so I just spoke the truth. The college student paused, frowning and showing an expression of being insulted, and said word by word, "Senior, you can rest assured, I will definitely pay. I have 200 left for my living expenses this month, and after setting aside money for food, I can pay you 100. Is that enough?" I smiled and looked at him. The college student gritted his teeth and said, "Then I'll just eat instant noodles, and I can pay you 150. Is that okay?" I continued to smile and look at him. Only then did the college student realize the seriousness of the problem, his voice a bit shaky. "How much do I have to pay?" "How about I pay you in installments, is that okay?" This is exactly what I was waiting for. It won't be much anyway. I counted on my fingers, this car was just bought, probably over $1 million. The 2 scratches you made will require repainting the whole door, which will cost about 20,000. Seeing the college student's expression finally crack a bit, I quickly waved my hand, adopting a kind and benevolent demeanor. "But how can I pay you in installments? After all, we are alumni." The college student's eyes flickered, and after a moment of silence, I immediately said, "Little friend, how about you use yourself as collateral?" "Huh?" The college student widened his eyes, his stern face filled with disbelief. Use myself as collateral." I smiled kindly, nodding while gently patting the back of his hand to reassure him. I took the phone from his hand, opened VX, scanned the code, and added him as a friend in one go. I even thoughtfully made a note for him, creditor sister Jews Wujwa. Comparing it with his student ID, I also made a note for myself, debt-ridden male student He Yang Ju. Only then did Yangju come to his senses, snatching the phone back and glaring at me, asking, "How exactly do you want me to pay you?" "Of course, I want you to accompany me well." I raised my eyebrows and smiled at him. I opened the car door and patted the passenger seat. "Get in, and I'll tell you." Sister. 2. Stiff. After Yangju got into the car, he first buttoned his shirt to the first button, and then his whole demeanor was a definition of stiffness. And what it means to stare straight ahead without glancing sideways, yet be on guard against the person next to you as if your whole body had eyes. The person next to him refers to me. I looked at him for a while, then suddenly, with a mischievous intent, I leaned towards him, and in the blink of an eye, my face was almost touching the tip of his nose. Feeling his breath become rapid for a moment, I chuckled softly, leaned close to his ear and whispered, "Don't move." Very obedient, not moving, Yangju's whole body was tense, with only his Adam's apple rolling quickly and unnaturally. Under his unwavering gaze, I leisurely helped him fasten his seatbelt and advised, "There are countless roads, but safety is the top priority." Yangju awkwardly averted his gaze, let out a long sigh, and turned to look out the window. His ears turned a bright shade of red. "How exactly do you plan to compensate?" he asked in a muffled voice. I cleared my throat and spoke in a negotiating tone, "I am a fair person. You, on the other hand, have a good figure and are quite handsome. If you become my boyfriend for half a year, that will cover the money you owe me for the car repairs." Yangju suddenly turned his head, his brows furrowing deeper. "Become your boyfriend? To pay off a debt?" "Yes." "How reasonable." However, he found it unreasonable and disdainfully labeled me heartless for the wealthy. "Hey. I'm buying a labor force, not engaging in some PY transaction." "All right." I slammed the brakes and pulled over to the side of the road, spreading my hands at him. "You owe me 20,000, pay me back right now." I added as advice, "Think about it carefully, as a college student, if you go out to work or intern for half a year. Will anyone be willing to pay you 20,000? As I reached my hand forward step by step, Yangju gradually backed away, eventually leaning his gaze down against the car door. Gritting his teeth, he angrily compromised, 5 months. As the class leader of the male ethics class, he added an extra clause, "Let's be clear, no illegal activities." Deal. I couldn't help but whistle. In negotiations, it ultimately comes down to financial capability. Looking at the young man, although the pride in his eyes had dimmed a bit, he still had that unyielding expression, which made me want to laugh. Oh, the kid is still naive. Having not been beaten down by society, does he think he won by bargaining with me to change 6 months to 5 months? 5 months is just the first step, and the next step is, I've changed my focus to a men's clothing store. This set, that set. I quickly selected several suits for Yangju to try on. He held the clothes and glanced at me sideways, not moving. After all, whether it's the decor and location of this store or the materials and craftsmanship of these clothes, they all scream one word, expensive. I reassured him, "We're not buying, just trying it on, it doesn't cost anything." Still not moving. I tempted him, "You've studied economics, right? If you dress a bit more stylishly and package yourself well, the price will be a bit higher. Who knows, you might negotiate with me, and just 4 months would be enough to offset 20,000. He thought for a moment, then lifted his leg and walked into the fitting room. When he came out, I was humming, "Good Luck Is Coming," and performed a falling off the chair right there. Yangju was wearing a striped casual suit, with the top button of his shirt forcibly undone by the staff, tall and long-legged. Looking like a straight little pine tree. Just like seeing Chu Yuxian wearing Metersbonwi. I was stunned and barely managed to suppress my urge to applaud. With a wave of my hand, I said, "All right, let's change our contract to 4 months." Yangju was a bit surprised, not expecting me to be so generous all of a sudden, but before he could feel happy. Ding. I swiped my card. "Thank you, Miss Ju. Your total is 30,000 yuan. The clerk happily returned my card. It's no wonder Yangju excels in his professional courses. He immediately became nervous. Who is paying for this? The wool comes from the sheep, and I smiled gently. The clothes are on you, so of course it's you. Just a friendly reminder, little buddy, you now owe your sister 50,000. 3. He Yang-ju was so touched by my friendly reminder that his eyes turned red. He tried to get a refund, but the clerk shook his head, saying that the clothes were still on you. He tried to take off his clothes, and I shook my head. Your old clothes were accidentally thrown away by the staff. If you go out naked, that would be illegal. Jujujua. What do you want? He Yang-ju was so angry that the veins on his forehead were popping out. How rude, you don't even call me senior anymore. I said helplessly and indulgently, the clothes have already been bought, you can only pay me back, otherwise. Just consider me your boyfriend for a year. He Yang-ju pursed his lips and glared at me. I appealed to his emotions and reasoned with him, you look really handsome in this outfit, it would be a shame not to buy it. Plus, running around naked in broad daylight is really illegal. He Yenjo's gaze seemed like he wanted to take me down with him. I quickly started counting on my fingers, it's a great deal. You know, as a college student, you only earn working outside for a year. Indeed, the power of money is very effective. He Yang-ju silently shot me a glance and walked away. At the door, he let out a desperate, and turned back to look at me, each word coming out as if ground out by his teeth. Deal. Ju. Zhuozhua. The young man, who initially held his chin high, was now compromising step by step with red-rimmed eyes, and it really was. Really quite interesting. All right. I happily took the bag handed to me by the clerk, glanced at the neatly folded old clothes inside, and hummed a tune as I followed along. When I just came out of the fitting room, you said the contract was changed to 4 months. He Yang-ju asked as soon as he got in the car. Yeah. I was indeed a bit dazed at that moment. Since 4 months can offset 20,000, then 50,000 would only need 10 months. In a tone that left no room for negotiation, He Yang-ju set the terms again. The child is quite strong-willed. All right, you're the boss, sister will listen to you. I smiled indulgently. He Yang-ju was not grateful at all, crossing his arms and saying, I'm calculating the deadline according to our quoted price, but you are the one who is forcing a sale. Great, after being labeled as heartless for the rich, I have a new title. I was about to tell him that 20,000 for 4 months is a discounted price, and cannot be calculated so directly, plus he got this outfit at a 20% discount using my platinum card. He Yang-ju suddenly turned his head and said to me fiercely, Juzhuozhua, you skinflint, hum. I was taken aback. The tone, the words, combined with his chiseled face and stern expression, were quite childish and adorable. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Looking at the increasingly sullen little guy, I cleared my throat to stop laughing and said, why does being my boyfriend feel like a punishment? All right, they'll give you a chance for a reduced sentence. But one can't really make someone so angry. I opened my phone and glanced at the dozens of message notifications on it. I paused for a moment before speaking. You accompany me to have dinner with my ex-boyfriend. As soon as I said this, I felt a bit regretful. In the year since I returned to City S, my ex-boyfriend has been trying to invite me to dinner from time to time. I have refused several times, but he still clings on, so it seems that I have to meet him at least once. But I have already vaguely guessed his intentions. This dinner is bound to be a trap, and I certainly can't just go and accept the challenge casually. So today, I decided to play a trick on He Yang-ju. Although I mainly wanted to tease this proud little guy, I have to admit that seeing his handsome face made me suddenly feel that this dinner could actually happen. With such a handsome face and a broad-shouldered, slim-waisted figure, having him as a boyfriend would definitely be impressive. Unfortunately, it seems that I might have gone a bit too far. He Yang-ju is probably so angry with me right now that he grinds his teeth. When we actually face my ex-boyfriend, he might immediately switch sides and join in accusing me. I shook my head, wanting to say maybe not, when He Yang-ju spoke up. How many months can we offset? Once he accepted this setup, the proud little guy surprisingly cooperated quite well. 1 month. Afraid he would hesitate, I quickly added, 2 months is fine too, depending on your performance. If you perform exceptionally well, there's no limit. The emphasis particularly stressed performance, meaning you can't mess around with me. I don't know if Yangju understood my implication. He pondered for a moment and then agreed. Suddenly recalling something, he looked up and asked, "Did you buy me clothes to meet your ex-boyfriend?" 4. Yeah. I hadn't thought of that focus, and I instinctively admitted it. Yangju frowned slightly. It seems he was not satisfied with the answer. But mainly it's to keep you in line. I tried to make up for it. Yangju frowned even deeper. Stop talking, aren't we going to eat? Hurry up and drive. All right. I stepped on the gas and drove off. Wait a minute, I'm the creditor, not the driver. At the door of the private room, I kept nagging Yangju, food can be eaten, but words shouldn't be spoken, just be a pretty vase. Did you understand? Yangju glanced at me, neither saying yes nor no, turned to walk in front of me, and directly pushed the door open. Inside, my ex-boyfriend was coming towards us, his smiling face froze. I followed Yangju in and said, "Hi, Jiangyu, long time no see." It really has been a long time. As a typical couple that broke up right after graduation, Jiangyu and I hadn't seen each other for 5 years. Of course, it wasn't necessary to meet for the first 4 years. I had been comfortably lying on Jiangyu's blacklist. This year, he finally shared my number and warmly invited me to have dinner together and reminisce about the past. "Zhuozhuo, is this your assistant?" Jiangyu maintained his politeness and composure, but still couldn't hide his awkward expression. "Of course not." I smiled elegantly, linking my arm with Yangju's. "This is my boyfriend." I originally wanted to lean closer to him, pretending that we were very affectionate. However, Yangju took a step forward and extended his hand to introduce himself to Jiangyu. "Hello, I am Yangju." I stumbled and leaned against him. "Weren't we supposed to be quiet?" I shot a resentful glance at Yangju. He showed a nervous expression, wrapped his arm around my waist, leaned closer, and said in a low voice, "Zhuozhuo, why are you being so careless? Are you okay?" His handsome face suddenly came closer, making my heart race uncontrollably. I instinctively avoided his gaze and shook my head. The little guy performed quite well. As we both stood there blushing, Jiangyu's face visibly darkened by 2 shades. Not bothering to maintain any decorum, Jiangyu directly asked, "Zhuozhuo, what do you mean?" "It's nothing much, just that it's been a while, and I want to introduce you to my boyfriend," I said with a puzzled expression. "Didn't you always say you wanted to see me?" Jiangyu gritted his teeth and said, "Zhuozhuo, you know very well that I want to see you too. To get back together with me." I picked up his words, curling my lips, and asked word by word, "But Jiangyu, on what basis?" I didn't expect to be so straightforward, and Jiangyu was taken aback, unsure of how to respond. "On the basis that you crazily pursued me back then, was it actually to intern at my family's company?" Not bothering to look at his expression, I pulled out a chair and sat down. "On the basis that you knew my company was in trouble and my dad was sick, you decisively blocked me, afraid I would ask you for money." I raised my hand to pour myself a cup of tea. "What I rely on is that on the day of the graduation photo, you broke up with me in front of everyone, fearing that others would take advantage of my misfortune and implicate you, right? The fragrance of tea lingers, and the aftertaste is sweet." I also felt my mood lift as I looked at Yangju and joked about past experiences. "Yangju, remember, you must not cry when taking graduation photos. Otherwise, looking bad is a minor issue. The key is that every time classmates see the photos, they will laugh and reminisce about how miserable you looked when you cried." Yangju walked over, placing his palm on the back of my hand, looking at me seriously. "Zhuozhuo, you won't look bad. No matter when, you are always the most beautiful and radiant presence." I was surprised this kid is quite good at this. The compliment was very flattering, and it didn't sound at all like we had just met. Seeing him with that serious expression again, I felt a stir in my heart, and wanted to flip my hand over and tickle his palm. Unfortunately, Yang was pushed away. 5. Jiang finally thought of a reason, squatting halfway in front of me, looking up with a face full of grievance. Zhuozhua, I really didn't expect that our breakup back then would hurt you. I didn't consider it well, but I did it for your own good. You had so many things to deal with at home back then. And you also had to worry about planning our future. I was worried that you would be under too much pressure. And how can you say that I pursued you for the internship? That's too hurtful. All these years, I have genuinely liked you with all my heart. The tone was sincere, but the more sincere it was, the more disgusting it felt. I lowered my head and looked at Jiang, silently sighing. He was handsome back then, and he could talk his way into the hearts of many girls. But 5 years later, his cheekbones had become more prominent, his gaze always dodging, and his demeanor was cunning. Unfortunately, he was completely unaware, thinking he was still the campus heartthrob of those days. After saying that, he actually reached out to hold my hand resting on the edge of the table. Slap. Yang slapped his hand away. Don't touch her. Slap. I kicked him to the ground and said, don't touch me. Zhuozhua, you. The heartfelt confession ended like this, making Jiang's lips tremble with anger. Me? Yes. I am no longer the Zhuozhua, who was moved to tears by just a few of your words. The current me is Zhuozhua, who has struggled in society for 5 years, and has her own company, the Zhuozhua, who let you out of the blacklist, and made you grovel based on my own abilities. I took a piece of paper to wipe the tip of my shoe and said slowly, it's you who begged for reconciliation, but it's Zhuozhua who doesn't even look at you. These few sentences were already drafted in my mind when I first received a message from Jiang. Now that I finally said it, it feels very juvenile, but it's so satisfying. Only those who have been trampled in the mud know how much malice they need to break free from in order to stand up again. Countless silent roars against the wind and rain are all for the day, when I can stand in front of others and casually say, I'm back. Now, it's Jiang's turn to turn over and get back up. Unfortunately, it's not very graceful. His whole face is red, his neck thick, and his bloodshot eyes are glaring at me. Zhuozhua, what do you think you are? Do you think you're a rich young lady, a proud little peacock? He said sarcastically. How did your company come about? I heard that an old man invested in you, has old enough to be your father, right? Then pointing at Yang with a malicious look. This pretty boy, is he your boyfriend? Why have you never mentioned it? Are you embarrassed to say, because he's only after your money, ha ha. I glanced at Yang, lowered my eyes to sip my tea, and chuckled lightly. It really is hard to refute. Yang does have fair skin, and indeed, I did use money to win him over. Just as I was thinking. Jiang suddenly started screaming like a pig being slaughtered. It was Yang gripping that finger pointing at him and forcefully pulling it away. As Jiang turned to pull his hand away, Yang raised his leg and kicked him hard in the chest. Listen carefully, what I like is the person Zhuozhua, Yang said. Ouch! I burned myself with the tea. 6. Back in the car, Yang was still a bit out of breath. He looked at me, opened his mouth as if to speak. My heart jumped to my throat, interrupting him, I know. You want to ask me about the sentence reduction, right? You performed very well this time, which can offset 3 months. Congratulations, our contract only has 7 months left. Yang nodded and seemed to want to say something again. I spoke for him. I know. You want to ask me if you will call the police after being beaten so badly, right? Don't worry. He won't. It's too embarrassing to get beaten up while trying to reconcile, and now he doesn't dare to offend me easily. Yang nodded, still wanting to say something. I quickly continued. I know. You want to ask me about the company, right? That person is my distant relative. He invested money to become my partner, and I share the profits with him. It's a normal business collaboration. We don't have that kind of relationship. He Yangju nodded, suddenly smiled, and raised his hand to cover my mouth. Zhuozhuo, don't be nervous, let me speak. No, I'm not nervous at all. Why would I be nervous? I'm not nervous. He Yangju stared into my eyes, as if he wanted to engrave each word into my mind. Zhuozhuo, he shouldn't have said that about you. You are great, always have been, very strong. Do you remember that? As if enchanted, I nodded, feeling a pang in my nose. Over the years, I thought I had cultivated myself into a mature and smooth social person. Even when Jiang Yu just framed and slandered me to my face, I could still observe it calmly, feeling no inner turmoil, and even wanted to laugh. But now, He Yanzhou's 2 sentences actually broke my defenses. How disappointing. Seeing He Yangju open his arms, he actually wanted to pull me into his embrace. This is so embarrassing. I reached out to push him. Hey. Little boy, what are you doing? I'm the older sister. He Yangju awkwardly withdrew his hand and mumbled something in my ear. The voice was faint and unclear, and just as I was about to ask him, my phone rang. It was a client. After finishing the call, my face was about to freeze in a smile. But it wasn't over yet. The client wanted to meet for dinner to discuss. I turned to He Yangju and said, let's go back to school. Your task for today is complete. But he frowned slightly, just looking at me. Not moving. I pinched my brow and said, I have to meet a client now. Little boy, this occasion isn't suitable for you. What do you mean it's not suitable? What do you want? Are you betting X? Gathering a crowd for XX, a cold question, accompanied by a critical gaze. I quickly covered his mouth. What are the kids thinking? If you say more, it won't pass the review. It's just normal business socializing. It's just that we are going to meet the client soon, so I have to lower my stance and flatter them a bit. I really don't want the kids to see me in an embarrassing situation twice a day. It's so humiliating. He Yangju said he wouldn't listen. He consciously fastened his seatbelt, looked straight ahead, and had a blank expression. Drive, it'll help you block the drinks. Wait, why is it you, who is in debt, giving me orders? 7. It turns out that He Yangju is not very good at drinking. Fortunately, he has a good tolerance for alcohol. When he gets drunk, he just lies on the table and sleeps without making a sound. Client dad burped and gave me a thumbs up. Little Jew, you are really something as a little follower. Although he doesn't know how to handle things and can't drink much, he doesn't play tricks and always stands up for you. I awkwardly forced a smile, sent client dad away, and returned to poke the drunk cat on the table. Huh. I'll drink this cup for Zhuozhuo. He Yangju said, dazed as he got up. I pulled him up. No more drinking, no more drinking, everyone has left, you should hurry back too. The drunk cat just got up, but upon hearing this, sat back down. I'm not going back, I want to follow my senior. Drunk He Yangju was all flushed, and his eyes seemed even brighter, as he stared at me, suddenly smiling with a raised brow. My heart skipped a beat. Senior, I misunderstood you. You are still a good person. The drunk person's voice became soft. I was touched. Oh, congratulations, I'm finally not Jew Papi anymore. He Yangju shook his head vigorously. No, I understood the project you were just discussing. It's to help disabled children, it's a very good project. It's not exactly helping, we also make money from it. Although the project will ultimately benefit disabled children and the profit is not much, it is still a commercial activity, and I don't intend to label myself with any lofty tags of charity. He Yangju smiled at me. Making money and doing good deeds are not in conflict. I was too naive before, not knowing you had gone through so much, and I didn't expect that outside of campus, society is so complicated. I chuckled helplessly. This is considered complicated. Today's client is already quite easy to talk to. However, having someone understand your hardships, even if they only grasp 1/10 of it, will genuinely warm your heart. He Yangju blinked and continued, Senior, did you know? At first, I thought you had changed, that now you only cared about money, but you are still as caring as before. Of course, making money is just a means I still. Wait a minute. What do you mean by before? Seeing me confused, the drunken cat became anxious and reached out with both hands to pat my cheeks. Have you forgotten? The blue sky love team from back then. You hit me without any restraint, leaving my face numb. I grabbed the cat's paw, holding it in my palm, and murmured, blue sky. Oh. I remembered, it was a long time ago, as if it were from another world. It was back when I was in high school, part of a charity team organized by the school to help people with disabilities and lonely elderly individuals. At that time, as a carefree teenager, I always had a heart full of love to give. Unlike now, when I am deeply immersed in life. Surrounded by the smell of money. Yangju saw that I finally remembered and smiled happily, saying, I was in the middle school at that time and also joined the team. Every time I saw you patiently helping others, I felt like you had an angelic aura. Fortunately, he didn't say it was a saintly aura. The past is hard to look back on. I felt a wave of embarrassment and goosebumps, quickly waving my hand. No, I was quite immature back then. As I was saying this, I suddenly realized something. Not only did the goosebumps not fade, but even the hairs on my body stood on end. Yangju, you need to clarify for me, did you know me from the very beginning? Are you deliberately trying to trick me today? Juzhuzhua, a wealthy sister dedicated to tricking little kids. Have I been tricked in return? Clearly, the one whose scheme was exposed is looking at me with sparkling eyes, excitedly nodding. 8. The case is solved. Yangju really was trying to trick me from the start. He deliberately scratched my car, just to get my attention. Men.jpg. He just made a mistake. He didn't control the force well, and didn't realize my car was so expensive. What I didn't expect, is that I am now so wild that he actually wants to pay off his debt with his body. So when he previously scolded me for being unkind to the rich, and called me Jupapi, it was genuine hatred. My reputation has collapsed. But later, it took a turn. I learned the backstory from Jiang Yu, an experienced sister is working so hard, from the client side. Now, I have finally become a fan again. After listening to Yangju's summary of the case, I felt very frustrated. It's so embarrassing to be played around by a kid, especially since I thought I was so clever. Unable to contain my anger, I crossed my arms and interrogated. Why did you set me up? What is your purpose? Tell me. Drunk Yangju was particularly well behaved, sitting across from me honestly, and said seriously. Senior, I like you. I didn't really pay attention to what Yangju said later, like how I worked hard to get into this university, because of him and so on. My head was buzzing, and there was just one voice. This kid, 5 years younger than me, likes me and wants to be with me. How funny. What Yangju said must be drunken nonsense. I interrupted the still rambling drunk and pulled him up. I'll take you back to school. The person who just had bright eyes suddenly looked dazed. Where to go back? Which school am I from? Which dorm do I live in? I don't remember. Isn't that too manipulative? Even when people are drunk, they can still be scheming. I took a deep breath to calm myself. Really don't remember. He nodded sincerely. All right. I'll take you to the police station. I really didn't expect that Yangju was determined not to reveal where he lived. What should I do? Am I really going to take him to the police station? What if the police ask what our relationship is, and I say I'm his benefactor? No way. So I had no choice, but to take him back to my house. Yes, that's the logic. I told myself that I really had no other choice, but to bring Yangju home. After parking the car, I looked at the person in the passenger seat, who was slightly open-mouthed and fast asleep, feeling a headache. At first, just looking at this little kid's proud and aloof demeanor reminded me of my younger self, who always held her chin high, and I had a mischievous thought of teasing and bullying him. Who would have thought that after a few drinks in the evening, the little kid would become soft and candid, and just a casual smile would make my heart race. As it turns out, beneath the soft and cute exterior, he was actually a scheming little wolf dog, already plotting against me from the start. He even drunkenly said that he had liked me for many years, ha. I lit a cigarette, took a deep breath, and unconsciously sighed. What is love? Is it the kind of love that Jiang Yu had for me? Is it the kind of love that Jiang Yu said was just because he was after my money? I don't understand, and I don't want to understand. I slapped my face and thought, Zhuozhuozhuo, at your age, if you get fooled again, it would be too embarrassing. Especially, you cannot be fooled by a little kid. I turned to look at He Yangju, feeling a bit annoyed. What are you talking about? If you don't confess, I can still play with you without any worries, but now, I can only carry He Yangju to sleep in the guest room. When I woke up in the morning, my back ached. I really did a lot of exercise all night. Such as pulling the drunk cat out of the car, carrying the drunk cat upstairs, struggling to open the door while holding down the drunk cat's flailing hands, and covering the drunk cat with a blanket to prevent him from hugging my waist. I'm tired, really tired. I closed my eyes and prepared to take a nap again. I smelled the aroma of food. Zhuozhuo, are you awake? The food is ready. He Yangju gently knocked on the door. I'm awake, I'm awake. I'm starving. I immediately sat up. Suddenly realizing, I coldly replied, got it. 9. Breakfast is exquisite and abundant. Not as delicious as the person across from me looks. Unfortunately, I can't eat it. Although he switched back to that distant face after sobering up, the flickering gaze had already betrayed He Yangju, waiting for compliments. But I kept eating. Finally unable to hold back, He Yangju cleared his throat and raised his chin. I got up a bit late. So I just made something simple. Quick, compliment me. I nodded, it's passable. Clearly, I had already eaten until my stomach was round and full. It was obviously not the answer he expected. He Yangju gritted his teeth and stared at me for a while, and seeing that I had no intention of stopping my chopsticks, he perked up and tentatively asked. Are you angry? Is it because I said something to you after getting drunk yesterday? I choked on a mouthful of soy milk, wiped my mouth, and said, no. I'm not angry, you didn't say anything last night either. He Yangju leaned back in his chair, half smiling, but I clearly remember that I confessed to you. So, Zhuozhuozhuo, are you trying to avoid it? How could you remember and still ask me? You're trying to trick me again. No matter how delicious the breakfast is, I have no appetite now. I looked at him expressionlessly. He Yangju, what is our relationship? Before he could answer, I said, it's a debtor-creditor relationship. You owe me money and can't pay it back. So I'm hiring you for 7 months. He Yangju disagreed, straightening his back. No, I'm your boyfriend, we agreed on that yesterday. But weren't you 100% unwilling yesterday? However, today, I'm 100% unwilling to admit it. I made a nonchalant expression and questioned, boyfriend. Then you like. I like you. The answer was firm. I made a mistake. This was an easy question. So do you know me? I don't know you. But as long as you give me a chance, I can. He insisted. I rubbed my temples and looked up to meet a pair of clear eyes, staring as if they wanted to see into my heart. Avoiding his gaze, I chuckled, but, He Yangju, I don't need a boyfriend. I'm doing well now and don't need someone to make me anxious. I can block drinks for you, I can cook for you. I don't understand your business right now, but I'm good at my major and can quickly help you. He Yangju frowned, listing them one by one. I interrupted with a smile, that's true, it's all to pay off the debt, and we did agree on that. With a determined heart, she said maliciously, if you are willing, sleeping can also count as repayment, and if you perform well, it can count for even more. He Yangju looked at me in disbelief and asked with a trembling voice. Zhuozhuozhuo, do you really think of me this way? Do you really believe what Jiang Yu said, that I like your money? My hands, hidden under the table, trembled uncontrollably. What was happening? I had never been intimidated in any negotiation before. My throat tightened, I bit my lip, and still nodded. I didn't doubt He Yang-ju, I doubted myself. He Yang-ju's eyes turned red, and he suddenly smiled with relief. Good, very good. I understand now. He stood up, grabbed his coat, and walked towards the door. Wait a minute. I called out to him. I opened my mouth, trying to act as if nothing was wrong. You should call me sister. I'm 5 years older than you. Last night when you were drunk, you kept calling me senior, but now that you're awake, you're so rude. Bang. He Yang-ju slammed the door shut. I leaned back in my chair, only to realize my palms were sweaty. What I just said was indeed too hurtful. I started to regret it halfway through. But I really didn't want to give He Yang-ju any hope. Or rather, I didn't want to give myself any expectations. Zhuozhuozhuo, you're becoming more and more timid as you live. 10. It was me who couldn't help but contact He Yang-ju first. The reason is quite sufficient. First, he owes me so much money. If I cut off contact directly, I would be at a loss. Money shouldn't be wasted. Second, only children get tangled in love. Adults should only look at benefits. It's time for the kids to grow up. So I messaged him on WeChat, come shopping with me. Half a day later, he replied, busy. I patiently replied, how about making me breakfast? You did a great job last time. No reply. The next day, the receptionist handed me a lunchbox and said, Mr. Ju, a college student brought this for you. His name is He Yang-ju. Do you know him? I don't know him. For several days, breakfast was delivered on time. But I haven't even seen a shadow of He Yang-ju. My fingers tapped on the lunchbox, half my stomach filled with breakfast and half with anger. Did I really want to eat breakfast this much? I was just giving him a way out. Where can I find a creditor as kind as me? Although it seems a bit scummy to immediately calculate money after someone confesses, I was also afraid he would invest too much emotion and get hurt. VX sent him an ultimatum, come find me tonight. Or I'll charge you interest. No reply. After waiting for a day, 10 hours, 28 minutes, and 51 seconds, there was still no reply. Ding. VX notification. I quickly grabbed my phone to check. Oh, it was my sister Xiao Dao who sent it. Let's go to the bar tonight and relax a bit. Sighing, I replied, okay. Can I really get myself depressed if the kids don't come to find me? Absolutely not. There are plenty of fresh male college students everywhere. I don't have to settle for him. But as I followed Xiao Dao to the bar entrance and watched the people coming and going, I felt bored again. Those boys, sure they are young and handsome, but they are pale and uninteresting. Not to mention someone like He Yang-ju, who just makes you want to tease him at first glance. I'm done playing. I'd rather go home and soak my feet for health. I wanted to leave, but Xiao Dao pulled me in. The lights were blinding, the music was noisy. And I leaned against the front desk, feeling utterly bored. Just the two of you. What would you like to drink? I turned my head and met a cold and distant face. This is my little friend. I suddenly became interested. But the problem is, He Yang-ju, what are you doing here? Little Dao was placing an order, looking at us in surprise. Zhuozhuozhuo, do you know each other? He Yang-ju coldly shook his head, his expression a bit unnatural. Hello, what would you like to drink? Still angry. I stomped in my high heels, pulling him a few steps away, and asked, don't you know me? Who insisted on being my boyfriend before? He Yang-ju glanced at me sideways, lowering his voice. Who insisted on not admitting it before? Oh, it's me, I'm a bad girl. I touched the tip of my nose. All right, I even VX, don't leave me hanging. He Yang-ju's voice softened a bit. I really am busy, I'm working here. Looking up and glancing around. I can't let the manager see me slacking off, or else my salary will be deducted. Why work so hard? If you really need money, you can find me. Halfway through my sentence, I was shot a glare by He Yang-ju, and I sulkily shut my mouth. Then he pulled me back to the bar. He Yangju put on a familiar act again. What would you two like to drink? I raised an eyebrow. It's so hard to choose what to drink. Why don't you find us a knowledgeable guy to join us for drinks? Little Dao looked surprised. Zhuozhua, you've become wild today. Didn't you used to dislike this kind of thing? I glared at He Yangju and huffed, who told some people to look down on me and avoid me. It wasn't exactly an argument, but the standoff at the bar attracted the manager, who came over enthusiastically to greet Little Dao and ask what was going on. We want to find a guy to drink with us, I said. No problem. I'll call a few over for you. And you can choose freely. No need to choose. I nodded towards the bar, just him. He Yangju's face turned pale, and he said sternly, no. The manager quickly intervened. He is a temporary waiter we hired. Although many customers like him, he is only responsible for taking orders and does not drink. Oh, he sells his skills but not his body, that's good. Then I won't force anyone. I nodded, please find someone obedient to come over. No. He Yangju's voice was even harsher. Is this also not allowed? I was so angry that I laughed. Before I could explode, the manager scolded him directly. Do you understand how to behave? How can you talk to customers like that? I grabbed the manager. Why are you scolding him? Manager. Suddenly, a force wrapped around my waist. And everything in my field of vision spun for half a second as I was pressed against the wall beside me. He Yangju's face appeared even more striking in the psychedelic lights, getting closer, creating a sense of pressure. Zhuozhua, do you still dare to look for someone else in front of your boyfriend? Little Dao let out a gasp beside us. 11. The manager took He Yangju and me to the staff lounge, saying that since it was a relationship issue, the two of us should sort it out ourselves. Little Dao also wisely did not follow us in. My face was still burning. How should I put it? While the wall slam is cliché, it really is quite impactful. He Yangju's face was flushed, clearly still in a daze. Well, I was too harsh with my words earlier. I actually don't think of you that way. As the older sister, I took the initiative to apologize. The little friend still didn't appreciate it, shaking his head and saying, no. You're right. Is he being sarcastic? Is he being sarcastic with me? Is it not okay to give a way out, or to apologize? I got angry. He Yangju, don't push your luck. He Yangju looked at me deeply. Zhuozhua, I just want to push my luck. I could tell, he just didn't want to reconcile. I lifted my leg to leave, but He Yangju pulled me back and took out a piece of paper from his pocket, showing me the neatly arranged calculations on it. I owe you a total of 50,000, which is for 10 months. After having dinner with you, there are still 7 months left, so I still owe you 35,000. I plan to pay you back over a year. I'm currently working at this bar, earning quite a bit, and I can also practice my drinking skills. When the holiday comes, I can find another job, and maybe I can pay it off in half a year. He Yangju spoke seriously yet lightly, and after finishing, he rarely smiled. It was like finally thinking of a way to solve a heavy burden. I didn't want to hear a single word and snatched the paper from his hand. He Yangju, why are you in such a hurry to give me money? Why did you pretend not to know me today? You really can't stand me. Do you want to cut ties with me? The torn pieces of paper were thrown at him, fluttering down. In an instant, I felt wronged and powerless, just like 5 years ago when I first realized how unpredictable human nature could be. Do you really believe what Jiangyu said? I asked tremulously. Do you really believe that I would trade anything for money, regardless of the means? No answer. The person across from me just looked at me quietly, without saying a word. Just when I thought I had the answer, suddenly, a pair of strong arms embraced me. Zhuozhua. What I believe is that you will always be a kind and strong person. He Yangju's voice was gentle and firm in my ear. I really want to clarify our relationship, to clarify the financial relationship between us. I don't want to be your boyfriend because of debt. I want to be your boyfriend because I like you. Zhuozhua. He Yangju looked at me, his expression serious. I want to be your boyfriend and protect you well. Give me a chance, okay? Can I? A chance, can I? I asked myself. My heart raced wildly, and I awkwardly pushed Yangju away, my eyes darting around the ceiling, floor, walls, and table. What a cliché plot, indeed. But what to do when it makes you blush, your heart race, and your stomach flutter? Seeing me silent, Yangju seriously started promoting himself. I'm currently taking my driving test, so will be able to drive in the future. Oh, you see me as your driver. I can hold my liquor pretty well now, so I shouldn't get drunk easily when I accompany you to meet clients next time. Oh, that's a pity you're so cute when you're drunk, all soft and silly. I'll graduate next year, and after I pay off my debts, I'll look for an internship in your industry to learn a bit first. Oh, you want to be my little spy too? I really don't have much money right now, and I probably won't earn as much as you in the future, but I won't spend too much of your money. Alright. What's yours is yours. I interrupted him and pulled him outside. Not being able to pull him, Yangju asked me seriously, Zhuozhuo, you still haven't told me the answer. I sighed helplessly and playfully poked his serious face. I already told you, alright. My finger was tightly held, and a light kiss landed on it. 12. I still insisted on finding the manager, and fired Yangju from this job. Yangju was dissatisfied. Why? This is the most profitable part-time job. I replied irritably. The manager just said that many customers want to order you, and I got jealous. Yangju fell silent and smiled with his lips pressed together. Then it might take 2 years to pay you back the debt. It's fine. I waved my hand, just calculate the interest based on the time. Yangju glared at me, resigned to his fate. Feelings are feelings, but money is money. I'm the worst of all. Not only did I not accompany Xiao Dao for drinks, but I also dragged Yangju away early in the morning. Sitting in the car, I finished reading Xiao Dao's complaint about my heartlessness, but also the motherly advice reminding me to cherish things from VX. I looked at the person sitting upright in the passenger seat, and a mischievous thought arose. Little one, remember to take care of yourself outside. So, do you want to go home with the bad sister? Yangju stared ahead, swallowed hard. And after a while said. Zhuozhuo, we agreed that I would protect you. I don't want to be your little brother. I, who was in high spirits, felt like I had been doused with cold water. Deeply reflecting, should I be a bit more reserved in front of Yangju? Well, let's go. Yangju fastened his seatbelt. Where to? To your house. A serious expression slowly turned rosy on his face. Huh? Should I still hold back a bit more? Then Yangju picked up his phone and shook it. Didn't you message me to come find you tonight? He emphasized the word tonight, and the blush on his face deepened. But I swear, I really wasn't thinking that way at the time. However, since it's come to this, I might as well go all in. Yangju, sometimes, it's not that I don't want you to protect me, like with older sisters and younger brothers. Under Yangju's inquisitive and learning gaze, I steeled myself and said. Sometimes, it's just sometimes. You call me sister, and I call you little friend, it's a kind of fun. Is that so? Yangju nodded, got it. His expression remained unchanged. Sigh, I thought to myself, I should be more reserved in the future. At dinner, I praised the little friend's cooking skills in various ways, and also complimented the breakfasts from the past few days. Yangju suddenly said. So, does sister want to reward me a bit? Huh? I didn't react in time. Yangju pressed his lips together and asked, not very confidently. You said that sometimes calling you sister's fun, is it this kind of time? I've put down the chopsticks in my hand. Well, that's fine. Calling you sister while eating, of course, that can be considered fun. Yangju shook his head. I mean, when you reward me, calling you sister, does that count as fun? My expression was blank. Sister, please reward me. His clear eyes were fixed on me, with a hint of mischief flashing through them. Is this a trick? Is he trying to trick me again? Before I could respond, this person stood up and picked me up by the waist. Walking towards the bedroom with a serious expression, he said, "After eating, we need to exercise a bit, so thank you, sister." "Thank you, little friend. It's a trick. It's all a trick." I, Jujwajwa, a wealthy sister dedicated to tricking little friends. With a sore back and aching waist, reflecting in tears, it turns out that the best hunters always appear in the form of their prey.